Good afternoon. You're listening to My Conscious Dad right here on your hometown station, KHTS. I'm your host, Jazmine Urbina, here in the studio today with my dad and co-host, Alex Urbina. And today we're going to be talking about young adults. Very personal topic for me, obviously, because I'm a young adult.
Yeah, I found this article and I read it and I thought it would be a great conversation to have. And I really want to also have some more intellectual conversations about young adults and really talk about how to support you guys and how to really, help you guys figure out who you are and what you're passionate about, find your purpose, get out in the world, make a difference. And I just thought this would be a good conversation to really talk about. And I guess they go over 5 different things that either young adults stress about or worry about. So I kind of want to go through them and get your opinion on them. Number 5 is you guys have big hopes and aspirations. And what it says is that we want to benefit the world in our own special way with our own unique degrees, talent, passions, and pathways. And I think it speaks a lot about your generation and you guys wanting to make a difference. You guys know you have a voice, and you know that you can use that voice for good. But I think also as well, you have a voice that you can also use it for bad as well. But for the most part, what it's saying is that for young adults, that you guys do have dreams and you do have hopes and you do have a vision to be a contribution in the world. Do you think that is accurate?
Well, I think since, right now, all the young adults are millennials, we all have a certain style and a certain way that we all see things, whether you agree with it or not. There's a lot of stuff that we will do or say that I've noticed other generations say, I would never say that way. I would never speak that way. I would never act that way, when I was their age. And I think the difference between them and us is that we grew up with a lot of television or movies, fairy tales. We grew up with a lot of those things that basically said you could do whatever you want. We grew up with a lot of movies about the underdog that came up from nothing. So we think we identify with those characters because that's what we saw and that's what was sold to us when we were growing up.
Even reality shows. And if you grew up as a young millennial, you're watching reality shows and you're kind of coming to the conclusion that, hey, I can act like that and not be confronted on, or I can, choose to be a brat or be dramatic or, throw temper tantrums, and all of a sudden I could be famous. So, yeah, you definitely grew up in a different world where certain messages are being sent to you and they're being projected onto you that it's okay to show up a certain way or be a certain way, and there's no framework to say, hey, you can't do that, or hey, maybe you shouldn't do that. Which is funny because just before we started the show, I was having a conversation with Andrew, our board op, and we got on the topic about Kathy Griffin, who's in hot water right now for the stunt that she pulled with the photo with the president. And when there's no framework, we just give ourselves permission to kind of push the envelope and challenge that line and push that line. And sometimes we go too far. And as comedians, a lot of times comedians are in hot water because they do take on topics like that and they challenge themselves and they go sometimes too far. And I think you're right. You grew up in a world, and in your environment, in your world, from your perspective, it's, hey, we can just basically do, well, there's really no price to pay.
One of the things I noticed too was that after so many years of technology developing and so many things being done, it's kind of like there's no more originals anymore. There's no, there's no room for creativity sometimes because everything seems like it's already been done. So it seems like you have to be really creative to top the last thing or to make something, better. And I think that's what artists and celebrities and comedians come to face, that they have to be funnier or they have to do something crazy to get attention. And I think us growing up as millennials moving into the workplace, when we're trying to work and be creative in a space that either has people not of our generation not understanding that we're trying to be creative, we're trying to be original, we're trying to be different instead of doing the same thing that they've probably been doing for 20 years.
But I also think there's some genius in that, in giving yourself permission to, go beyond or think outside the box or get creative to the point where you end up, causing some creating some miracles in the world, like, curing cancer, or coming up with some technologies that really helps the world in a powerful way. It takes that kind of creativeness and that permission to be able to be outrageous and think outside the box and challenge yourself to be able to create some extraordinary things in the world. But then there's also the drawback, which is you're paying prices because you're being judged by, Generation X or the baby boomers looking at you going, hey, when we were younger, we never acted like that, or we never did that. So I can see some of the price you're paying on both ends. You're being told to go out there and shoot for the stars and follow your dreams, and you can do whatever you want. But yet on the other side of the coin, you're being told not to do that. Maybe you should think about doing that, and you're being challenged as well. And so you're probably being pulled on both ends.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to what you said. We have big hopes and we have big aspirations and dreams, and we grew up, at least I grew up, hearing you could do whatever you want, you could be whatever you want. And after seeing some of the feedback that I get from some Generation X or even the baby boomers saying, you need to be more realistic, kid, or you need to, and I see that on Facebook all the time. I see baby boomers say, my grandson is trying to be an actor, and he's never, I don't want to say he's never going to make it. I can't even say it. And they say that about their own grandkids, or they say, oh, he needs to get a real job, or, and things like that. They don't realize is what brings us down.
But everyone's gone through that. Even the Generation X gone through that. And even the baby boomers gone. I mean, I think it's just it's weird. It's part of this culture of being unconscious and being pessimistic, that you're going to get people that operate out of fear, especially the ones that you think that are supposedly to support you the most. Like, to hear your parents or even your mentor or someone that you admire turn to you and go, hey, maybe you should give up that dream and go find a job now. That's so disheartening. It's so like, no, not you. You're the one that's been telling me this, and now for you to say this, like you're flip-flopping on me. But that, to me, I see that as a challenge for that young person to say, no. I'm going to do this no matter what. And since I got started on it, I've been training myself for the last 8 or 12 years to think like this. I'm going to keep running with it. Even if all of my advocates and all of my, mentors decide now to swap on me, I'm not swapping. I'm sticking to this because I get to be something extraordinary in this world. I get to leave my footprint on this earth, and I get to keep following this through no matter what.
Well, the way I see it, I know that it's for some people it's kind of a push to make them better, and it's supposed to inspire them, but for some people they could be almost there. They could be right there. They're one more photo shoot away from being, right. One more movie away from being next Steven Spielberg, whatever. They're almost there, and their grandma or their grandpa or their mom or their dad says, when are you going to get a real job already? And that sets them back. And then they push. They were almost there. Another comment sets them back. So it kind of goes back to, if you really want someone to succeed and you really want someone to be happy, you never really know how close they are and what role you're playing in it to either get them there or not get them there.
Yeah, it's great awareness for those of us that are observers. Those of us uncles or aunts or neighbors, or, we're part of the community that gets to uplift that young person to say, yes, you can, rather than bringing and projecting your own doubt or your own failures, your own negative perspective and projecting that onto them, rather than saying, of course you can, or I believe in you, or, I'm cheering for you. Even just finding something, a neutral way to respond to kids' aspirations and dreams. Be more mindful of, at least let me find a neutral one that they can't find it very easily to interpret as that you're not there to support them, or that you just pop the air out of their bubble. But yeah, I think that you guys are definitely looking for that, and it's something that you guys, I think it's one of your greatest gifts, is that you do have big hopes, do have big aspirations, and I hope that you guys wake up one day and realize that you can do it, whether they're naysayers or not, and you change the world. I'm rooting for all of you guys, because it's important. So here's number 4. Number 4 is wanderlust beyond belief. And if you're wondering what Wanderlust is, it's the intense desire to travel. Our generation of young adults are obsessed with wanting to study abroad, take gap years, and go on to mission trips to experience other places other than home or college. It's like the fleeting disease. Like, I got to get out of here. I know it's common here, especially in Santa Clarita. I've been noticing a lot of either the teens or the young adults. It's like, I can't wait to get out of this little bubble so I can go explore the world. And so I got to go over the hill into the valley or into the Hollywood or into LA. And I got to get out of here. So a lot of kids flee from their home to run away to get into a college or an environment where they can kind of flap their wings and figure out who they are.
Well, I think technology kind of plays a huge role, actually, in that is that back in the day, there was no internet. You didn't know what, the Bahamas looked like.
That's
you didn't
right.
know how great the rest of the world was. You didn't know how much beauty there was out there other than either you in your valley, to your cousin's house down the street. You don't know what it looks like around.
There weren't even shows. Like, I remember growing up and looking at shows. There was I didn't see no travel shows where they showed Paris or, it just, and if there were, they were just hit or miss. But now it's like, if you go on the Travel Channel and they're showing you the whole world in 24 hours, I mean, it's amazing. But with internet, you're exposed to the whole world, and it brings the whole world into your living room. And now all of a sudden you're like, your knees shaking, and you're like, what's the matter? I want to go, I want to get out of here. I want to go travel the world. And now, it's like, okay, kid, can you wait till you retire so you can travel the world? But you guys want to do it now. Like, I want to get out there.
Well,
and take it on now.
For me, what I think is ironic about traveling when you retire is that by the time you retire, you're so tired and there's really no...
And old.
Well, not necessarily, but you're so tired and you're so worn out from life, the life that you just dedicated your last 20, 30 years to working at this job and raising kids and doing all kinds of things, that by the time you get to travel, you're going to have, yes, a relaxing experience. But if you were to travel in your 20s, even your 30s, you can do all those crazy things. You can jump off of cliffs. You can go skydiving, bungee jumping, just spend all night out running around in Paris. You can do all of those things that you probably wouldn't do by the time you're 65, 70. So I think kids kind of realize that. They realize, I don't want to save all my money to travel just to sit there and relax by the beach when I could be doing some crazy stuff right now.
Yeah, in fact, yesterday I was having lunch with your brother. We kind of hung out yesterday, and he was sharing, his dreams and his aspirations. And he actually said to me, I can't wait because my next goal in the next 6 months to a year is to go travel, is to go to Paris, is to go to London, is to go to explore some of that world. And I, in that moment of being mindful, I had to really pause my brain from either analyzing it or judging it or even responding to it. So what I did was I put this big smile on my face, and I chose to become happy for him because he's still dreaming. And the heartbreak of being a transformational trainer for teens is hearing all the cries in the training room. And what's heartbreaking is to see a 12-year-old or a 14-year-old have their dreams squashed, or having them not have any dreams anymore, knowing that their dreams have been surrendered or given up upon since they were 5 or 6 years old. So to have a 27-year-old son that's still dreaming and still sharing that with me, I chose to really get lost in the wonder of that. And I saw him as a 5-year-old kid telling me, like, Dad, I want to go do this and I want to do that. And it lit my heart. And it was so joyful to hear him share that with me. And I got to be that mirror for him, and just my face lit up, and hopefully without words, my face expressed to him that of course you can, and I want that for you, and I got your back, kind of a thing. So that was just something that happened yesterday, and I thought it was pretty cool that it kind of validates this number 4, the wanderlust beyond belief and wanting to take on the world and go explore. Number 3 is called Forever Broke.
Yeah.
And it says, even though we're working our butt off and attempting to save every cent that we make, somehow as a young adult, we always end up broke anyway. What is that about?
Well, I think, one, a lot of us live beyond our means. I think there's a lot of things that we feel like we need
or deserve.
Right? Sometimes we do. Sometimes
You
we
deserve that Gucci purse that costs $900.
And, and I think right now, again, with technology, if you don't have the newest phone, you're behind. Literally, because it's so slow. Or, if you don't have the newest clothes, you're not going to fit in. If you don't go out with your friends, you can't keep up with your social life, and you can't have fun other than going to work. It's like you go to work, you go to bed. You can work day and night and still not have enough money. If you aren't fortunate enough to live at home until you get on your feet, you're going to pay rent forever, it feels like, until you can finally save enough to buy a house. It's crazy the amount of people who are, what some will say, throwing away money on rent or renting for too long, because you always expect, okay, I'm going to rent for a year maybe and then I'll buy a house, but you never do. And I think it has to do with one, the way we living beyond our means a little bit, and then two, there's not really a desire to own a home or to settle down somewhere, because it goes back to number 4. We want to travel. We want to get out. We don't want to be tied down to one place. I know that I was having a conversation with my sister about where we thought we would raise our families. And she's like, I don't know if I would even settle down to raise my family. Maybe we would just jump around. And to me,
travel?
Yeah. And so to me, I was like, I could never make my kids run around, traveling, not, going to random schools.
But you're more traditional,
right?
Where she's more spirited,
right? So she's like, oh, I don't think I'm ever going to own a home. I think I'm gonna bounce around. Maybe I'll
just buy an RV,
right? And maybe it's funny because she was painting this whole picture and it sounded so nice, but to me sounded unrealistic. And I would never say that to her because I don't want to sound like a baby boomer. But no, but I didn't want to crush that, because that's a really good dream and it was a really beautiful goal. She was saying, I want to teach my kids like in Paris, and then I want to be in Brazil and then teach them there. And, so for me, it sounded like she wanted her kids to have experience and in knowledge rather than be stuck in textbooks. So I really appreciate, and I saw a lot of beauty in, so I wasn't going to say, oh, that's crazy, because it's really great, and I would love to have that type of drive and desire. So I think it has to do a little bit with our dreams being so big that we don't really see value in saving money. It's kind of like whatever the next thing we want, we figure out how to get.
So what you're saying is that you're more invested in experiencing life now and having the experiences of the newer car, the newer phone, the updated laptop, you're giving yourself the gift that you don't want to wait to earn to get to that place where you can buy yourself that thing. It's kind of when you're 30. It's like, I'm going to try to get a portion of it right now.
Right. It's kind of like, and it has to do with us being so fast paced and I want it now. Give me that.
Well, the instant gratification of being young is part of that too.
Right. And I don't think and
having parents that aren't charging you rent is probably part of that too. So I'm sure a lot of factors that come into play that sets it up, the stage, easier for you to keep blowing your money on things that, like you said, that you probably don't need.
And it's actually really funny. I was just having a conversation with my cousin about 2 days ago, and she was saying that we can see parts of our family or people outside of our family judging us for still living at home, or for her, she has 2 kids. So we were just talking about how we can see the judgment on people's faces, like what we do and how we live. And I know that all of us, I don't know if it's because we're young or we're Urbinas or what, but we're all dreamers. So I know that it breaks my brother's spirit when people say, oh, when are you going to get a real job? Or when are you guys going to figure this out or that out? And I remember when I was having this conversation with her, we were both getting kind of emotional because we were like, this is our family and this is how they treat us. So if anything, I really just want to share that the way that you guys are, I don't want to say you guys, but if you identify with the people that I'm talking about, and it's always people that we love and that we care about, our family who are saying stuff like that to us. So it really does affect us more than you probably think. Just because we have a bratty attitude at the time and say, oh, okay, whatever, or we laugh it off, doesn't mean that we go home and laugh it off. We
Right.
go home, we sit there and think, yeah, when is this going to work out for me? Or should I just go get a job somewhere else? Or, you sit there and you debate about it. And, we're not happy being forever broke. We're not happy, about it, but we're trying to figure out how to get there so that in the long run we will be happy.
Yeah, one of the greatest coaching advice I ever got when I was younger and I was, following my dreams. One of my mentors said, put in the hard work right now and sacrifice now so that on the back end in your 30s or 40s, you can, reap all the benefits and all the rewards. And that's what I want for you guys, for my kids. You guys have permission to continue to follow your passions, and me and your mom will support you guys to the ends of the earth as long as you're following your passion. You should probably heard that a million times now. As long as we're watching you guys chase your dreams and follow your passions, we'll support you no matter what. It's to the point where you're not, where you're just settling and playing small, is when I think you'll get that nudge off the cliff, or you'll get that boot out the door going, no, if you're going to play small and you're not going to, go after and chase your dreams, then, we don't want to enable you. And so now you get to go and find your own place and go pay your own rent and all that kind of stuff. So you have permission when those people tell you and project what a real job means to them. When they say, when are you going to go get a real job? You have permission to say, hey, my parents are okay with where we're at. As long as we're following our dreams and chasing our passions, they got our back. And you need to remember that, so that when people are saying that to you, that you got our backing, because that's what that's how we've raised you, and that's what we've been telling you in your ear, and we get to stand behind that.
Yeah, we have to take a quick break, but stay tuned for more of My Conscious Dad right here on your hometown station, KHTS.